All right, so welcome to iTeach. Today we're going to talk about getting started. So a lot of what we're going to do in this particular session is kind of a general overview of Canvas. Where are things at? How are things organized within that? And so today, that's really what our focus is going to be. As we have additional sessions moving forward, I think that we have a session that talks about building your course, sessions on gradebooks and assignments and quizzes and all that stuff. We will continue to build on that. As I indicated, we are attempting to record these sessions, and I'll show you here in a second where you can find that. When you go up to the login menu at our main Johnson County website, you'll see that we have an option to go into Canvas. If you forget that, you can always go to canvas.jcc.edu. Either one of those locations will get you there. The thing that I want you to understand is that Canvas is a hosted solution, which means that with Canvas, basically it's out in the cloud. So somewhere in the world, there are servers that are hosting what we do as far as content here at Johnson County. And so when I click on this Canvas environment, it's going to say, who are you? You would use your JCC username and password, if I remember what it is. Okay, it's going to log me in. Because it's hosted in the cloud, basically, we like that fact because in previous versions of LMSs, everything was on campus. If we have had a problem on campus, that may prevent us from getting into the system, but now everything's out in the cloud, and so you can get to it pretty much anywhere. The first thing I want to draw your attention to up here is that there's some announcements, and so at the very top of the page, you're going to see new features. Canvas is a cloud-based system, and Canvas is on a regular basis updating things, pushing out new feature enhancements pretty much every 3 weeks. And so what I've done here, and I'll continue to do, is that probably about once a month or so, I'll put in a little video into the announcements section that you can see what will be happening on July 14th. So basically on Saturday, all of the Canvas instances across the world will get an update of new feature enhancements. And so some of these things may impact you directly. Some of these things may be something that you may say, Ed, I don't want that. You have the ability to turn those things off if you want to. But this is a big shift for us, okay? Up until this point, our learning management systems were stored over in the basement of the Rainier Center. And we would decide how often updates and upgrades and stuff would happen. And so a lot of times that would maybe be once a semester, a couple times a semester, we would go and we'd update things. But Canvas is all cloud-based, so every 3 weeks, every month, they were putting things out. So this is an announcement. So if you want to watch that video, you can look at that if you want to. Once you're finished looking at it, you can say done. And basically that announcement goes away. Okay, so a lot of times you might say, well, I've got lots of announcements out there. By clicking on that little X in the upper right corner, that will then remove that away from you to get it out of the way. The other thing that you're seeing on our dashboard are these little items and little squares called cards. These cards represent courses that maybe either you are teaching or that you are a student in, okay? In the first time you log in, you may see lots of cards. And those cards may just be solid colors. They may not have images on here. We'll talk about, when you're an instructor, the ability for you to add an image to these cards, okay? Right now, I've added images to lots of cards out there, but as a default, they're going to just simply have probably a solid color that's attached to that. You're also going to notice over here on the right side a to-do list. And I'm sharing this with you because I think it's important for you to understand not only what do you see as an instructor, but also what do your students see when they come into campus. There's a to-do list over here on the right-hand side. First thing it says for me is that there's a little number that says, I need to grade lesson 1 discussion. I need to grade lesson 1 welcome message. Okay? Grade is instructor. You have things that are starting to collect. Right now, I just see a 1. If I wait long enough, maybe for a couple of days, I might see a 2, that there are 2 assignments, that there are 3 assignments, that there are 4 assignments. So as an instructor, this kind of tells you what's going on in your class that you're teaching. It's accumulating. You can click on it and it will take you right to the grade book functionality that you could grade it. Or you could just say, I'm not ready to grade yet. Okay, I'm just going to leave that alone. That's perfectly fine. But that's kind of what it's telling you as the instructor, is that there are things that are starting to collect. From a student perspective, as I scroll down, I see that it's saying, take quiz 2. So students will start to see if they have been assigned maybe a quiz or a Dropbox, that they see, take quiz 2, turn in APA assignment. Take quiz 3, turn in evaluation scores, okay? So students are going to see also a to-do list on the right-hand side as well. It's also going to tell them specifically what course that this is for, all right? So in this case here, it's the English 122 class, but for some reason, students take multiple classes on this campus, so they may see multiple items from different courses appear. So down here towards the bottom, I see 4 more items that I may need to open up. So right now, when you log into your account, there may not be a whole lot of things on your to-do list. It may look pretty empty. But as you start to build things and start to teach things, that's when it's going to start to accumulate and show up over here on the right-hand side. Okay? Now, as I scroll on down on the right-hand side, you're also going to see things attached to a calendar. One of the things we really like about Canvas is that it works really well with a calendar. When we talk to students about the Canvas, or when we the LMS evaluation process, we said, students, what do you want to see in your future LMS? And they said 4 things. They said they want a place where they can find the syllabus. So if the dog ate or they forgot it or whatever like that, that they could always go back and find that syllabus, right? Another thing is that they wanted a place that they could check on their grades. They could check and see their progress. You know, that I want to know what that Professor Radazinger gave me on that quiz or that assignment. So they wanted a place they could go. They also wanted a calendar so that if the instructor had due dates for, you know, assignments or quizzes, that they could go in there. And then finally, they wanted a kind of a notification process so that there's some announcements going on that they would know, you know, be notified about. And we're going to talk about all of those things from the student perspective that I think are going to be really easy for instructors to build as you put together stuff inside of Canvas. So that's what students want. So down here, you see that as there are due dates being assigned to certain items within Canvas, they start to appear on the calendar themselves. And then finally, down here at the bottom is something called feedback. A student, let's say, receives a grade on something. There's actually a link directly to the grade books for the students that they can look and see how they're performing. If, as an instructor, besides maybe a letter grade or besides a value in the grade book, maybe you put some comments in there, they can go to feedback and actually see any comments and feedback that you might have. So I'm talking about this because you're going to possibly have students asking questions. How did I do? Okay. What's due? When's it due? Okay. So as you build things, you can point to your students' Go to the right side. There's a lot of good information on the right-hand side that will help you stay current with what's going on. Now, another thing that you're going to see is that in the cards themselves, as new information comes out, these icons may show up with numbers. So on mine, see how it says late summer class. That's the one that we're currently enrolled in right now for this, this group of people. I see that there are some discussions. The reason why I can tell this is an icon that represents discussions. These are my discussions that I haven't looked at yet. So Ed can go in and I can look at 6 new discussions that have just been posted. There's also an announcement out here that I haven't looked at. There could be some Dropbox assignments and stuff that I need to take a look at. These icons represent activities also going on. Could they appear in 2 different places? Absolutely. It's just an icon that represents new activity going on in the class. A blank course that maybe some of you start with, there may not be any icons. They may be completely empty down here, which is fine. You know, we're just kind of letting you know what it may look like as it starts to, you know, as it's being taught, what these particular icons and cards and stuff may look like. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back up here to the top. You're going to see over here on the left-hand side what we call a global menu. The dashboard is the default. That's the first thing that comes up. All right. If I click on account up here at the top, you'll see that there is a profile option. And you'll see that Ed hates his photo, but he puts his photo out there because as an instructor teaching online, you know, I think it's important for at least to have something out there, okay? You can click on the pencil. You can upload your own photo if you want to. You can put in an avatar in there, you know, image if you want to. I tell students this is optional. This is not required. I do not require my students to put a profile image in here. As we go through and we start looking at the discussion tool, as we look at a tool inside of maybe like the grade book and stuff like that, these profiles follow along. And so sometimes you can simply look at a discussion thread and say, oh yeah, that's Mark, okay? Anything else down here is optional. I do not require either faculty or students to fill out any of this information. Very, very much optional. One of the things that we talked about just a minute ago is notifications. Students want to kind of know if something's going on in the class. And so one of the features that Canvas brings to us is the ability for us to be notified. And I'm thinking probably specifically for students. I mean, this could work for you as an instructor, but I think it's more important that students understand what's going on out here. So as I start looking at what's going on here, notice that notifications can send me an email right away, or an email daily, or an email on a weekly basis, or don't send me anything at all. So if I'm a student and there's a due date on something, it would send me an email. If there is course content that maybe has changed out there, maybe I've made some revisions on something, the student could get an email on that. Announcements, okay? If I, the instructor, put an announcement out there, the student would get an email with that. Now, let me pause and say, from a student perspective, we have automatically put all their StuMail accounts into Canvas. So they don't have to do anything. They are automatically assigned their StuMail account inside of Canvas. As instructors or employees of the college, you will have your @jcc.edu account put in there automatically, okay? Announcements created by you. This is something that did come up because one of the instructors said, you know, I've been sending announcements out to my students, but I'm not sure they're really getting these. You'll see down here that an announcement created by you will send you a copy. The default may be we're not sending you a copy. So you may want to go in and say, anytime I create an announcement inside the course, which is like the news functionality that we had in D2L, you will get an email for that. Grading. This is one of those things, if I put a grade into the grade book, the student will get a notification that something has been graded. It's not necessarily going to tell you what the grade is. It's just going to tell you that, you know, quiz number 1 has been graded. Johnny, you're going to need to go in and log in to see what that grade may be, or something along that line. So grading is one of these things that they would get a notification. As I scroll on down, you know, if there's something that was late that's going on, I continue to scroll on down here. Discussions, some of you may use discussions in your courses. I say be careful about this because discussions, there can be lots of stuff going on. Do I want an email every time someone posts a discussion? Probably not, okay? But if it was a discussion that was maybe created by me, by gosh, I want to know who's replying to that. So the student might decide, you know, I'm a little sensitive. I want to know who's responding to my particular discussions. These are things that can be, you know, customized to however you want to. Conversations. This basically would be similar to the internal mail for Canvas. Canvas does not have its own email system. So if you were using, let's say, D2L in the past, D2L had its own email called Online. That went away. Now Canvas uses basically whatever system that you might forward out to. So if I create a message inside of Canvas, I'll show that here in a second, to my students, it will go over here to the inbox inside of Canvas, and then those messages will also then be forwarded on to, let's say, a StuMail account, okay, that will go outside of Canvas. That's what they call messages or conversations inside of Canvas. And as a default, those student accounts are set up that anytime there's a message inside of Canvas, it will automatically forward it to their StuMail account automatically. Any questions so far with this? Okay. Groups, alerts, these kinds of things. What I want you to keep in mind is we have a number of students, we have a number of faculty that might say, I don't check my StuMail address. I have a preferred email that I have. If I come back over here to account settings, you'll see that I have the ability to add another email address. So if I am an instructor and maybe I'm working for another, or I just have a preferred email address, I could add in a different email address. Maybe it's my personal email address. Students may be the same way. You know, maybe they have a Hotmail account or they have another Google account or something like that. They could add in an additional email address, and then they would get another column in the notifications that they could say, you know, send me a message to my Hotmail account or my other account. In addition to email, you're going to see other devices. How do a lot of our students communicate today? Does this look familiar? Okay. You could say, set up another contact method and basically set up texting. Now, a lot of this is probably more directed towards students. And I talk to students about this, you know, in my orientations that I do. But you may also have the opportunity, you know, if you guys are using these things and you want to get a text message when something has been graded, or you want to get a text message if there has been an announcement coming to the course, you know, you can add in your cell phone carrier and telephone information. Now, you're not sharing this information with your instructor. If you put this in, you're not sharing it with me. You're not sharing it with your students. You're basically setting up a way to be notified about what's going on in here. So I'm just kind of throwing this out there at you because students do want to know how they're doing. They do want to know if things change. And they're maybe not necessarily checking their email all the time, but they may appreciate a text message that may come in that way. All right. Okay. If you're also using other types of services, we have Google that we use for StuMail. So if students or faculty want to go in and set up their Google account automatically inside of Canvas, you can set that up so it automatically has access to all of your Google folders and information. So that's some things. I don't use these other social media things, but they're there. Once again, these are not required, but it's an option. If some people like to do a lot of tweeting, I guess you could use that as a way to be notified what's going on with that. Okay. Files, I'm just going to talk about this really quickly, is that under files, as we start to upload, course data, course information, like PDF files, PowerPoint files, Word files, you're going to start seeing those appear in folders over here on the side, so you can start to see, what did you migrate over? What came with D2L? Or as I put things inside of Canvas, I have access to a lot of different folders, files, and stuff that I have uploaded. Okay, so that's under the files area. Okay, let me go back over here to the dashboard real quick. And as I look at the dashboard, you may say, well, Ed, maybe not all of my classes are showing up. I think I have classes I might be getting ready to teach in the fall or maybe for next spring. I don't see all those courses. If you come over here to another icon that says courses, you may have to scroll down, and there's something at the bottom that says, come on, all courses. So courses, all courses. You're hopefully going to see a list of everything that is in Canvas that's attached to you. Now, I'll just tell you, I have a sad life, okay? I have way too dang many courses out here. But as I'm scrolling down, you're going to see things that might say past enrollments. These would be courses that we started with Canvas back in the fall of 2017. We turned this system on about a year ago. Maybe you didn't know this, but back in the fall of 17, there were actually shells in Canvas that you could have started teaching from. In the spring of 18, there were shells that you could have been teaching from, okay? So if I come down here to past enrollments, there's basically a location. Now, it's no longer really available to you, but I'm just letting you know that that's what's out here. Future enrollments, as I scroll down here, you'll see that there are classes building for maybe the fall, for the spring. So you'll see these down here at the bottom, okay? Now, you see these little stars on the left-hand side. The star is what will place that on the dashboard. So you might say, I don't want all these other things on my dashboard. I only want certain courses to appear on my dashboard. If that's what you want, then you can go in here and say, I'm only going to put a star by those items that I want to appear. It's a toggle switch. You click on it, it goes on. You click on it, it goes off. So courses, all courses, star will allow you to actually see which courses and stuff you want to appear on your dashboard. Does that make sense? Okay. Another thing that you're going to see will be information like the term. Some of these classes, like I said, were back in the fall of 17. Some of the classes are coming up for fall of 18. It will tell you information specifically about that. We're going to talk about something that I'm going to call a source course. A source course, from my perspective, is a sandbox. I'm going to encourage you to maybe request a sandbox source course. Means the same thing. They're empty. They don't have anything in them. They do not have students in them. So you can request this empty space and start playing around. You can request as many source courses as you want. You might teach a class that is a 16-week class during a normal spring and fall semester. You may have a summer class that's in an 8-week class or a 4-week class. So you could ask for different source courses that you may design a little bit differently. You may get a different textbook, okay? So you may say, oh gosh, I got this new textbook that I'm coming up with, or I want to blah, 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 try this out. You can ask for as many source courses as you want. Just put some detail in that request form so that you can help separate those. The next thing over here is going to be, well, actually two things, is what you are enrolled as. I think in most cases, you're either going to be a teacher or you're going to be a student in this room, okay? Designer is just something that Ed was working on, so I kind of had a different role in this class than most people have. So teacher or student is what most of you are going to be. You might have heard something called mandatory training, okay? If you look at a list, there may be an icon out there that says mandatory training. There may be a new course coming up here in August for this next year's mandatory training that you will be a student in, for that inside of Canvas. You are a student inside of iTeach. And I'm going to talk about that here in a minute as to what does that mean? What do I have access to? Okay, as I come in there. And then finally, you're going to see something on the very far right that says published. The word published or publish from our perspective means visible to the student. So if a course is not published, if the course says no to published, the student will not be able to see that. As I start working on content inside of a course, like a quiz or a Dropbox or a file, okay, and that quiz has not been published, will the student be able to see it? Yes or no? I'm thinking no. Okay, so the word published has a meaning. It kind of is like a draft state. If it is not published, I can work on it maybe as the instructor, but the student cannot see it. And I'm sharing that with you because a lot of times at the beginning of semesters, I'll get calls and emails from faculty saying, I don't know what their problem is. Okay, it's there. I can see it. It's right there in front of me, but they tell me they cannot see it. And I'll log in and there'll be this little green dot that's missing, okay? And I said, well, you need to publish that. Oh, okay. So I'm letting you know that the word publish or published has a meaning inside of Canvas. It means visible to the student as we come in. And that's what this means over here. Are these published? Some things may be published, may not be published. Source courses, you're probably the only person that's going to be in there. So you don't have to worry about whether that's being published or not. But if you are putting other people in there, maybe at a college or something, you may have to make sure that you publish that. All right, there's one other little column up here that you might have noticed called nickname. And as we start looking at some of these courses, like right here, this biology course, you may know as an instructor what that means, okay? To me, this is a biology class that's an online section. I can tell that it's a fall 2018 class, okay? But as the student or the instructor, there may be something you want to add to that. When I go back over here to the dashboard today, you're going to see this little dot, dot, dot in the upper right corner of a card. You see the cards and the dot, dot, dot? When I click on that, I have the ability to add in a nickname. Okay? That nickname may be something that means something to me. Maybe it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning class, or a Tuesday, Thursday evening class, or a online course that I'm teaching. This is your ability to add in your own words what this course is. Class from hell, okay? Now, this is only you. When you say class from hell, I jokingly say that, your students will not see that. Okay, it's only for you that you're actually putting that in. You might say it's a Monday, Wednesday, 10 o'clock a.m. class. Okay, that means something to you. The students will still get what comes from Canvas, but they could go in and they could say class from hell, okay, if that's what they want to do. It's only the users that can change those nicknames. Color-wise, okay, just because your card says red does not necessarily mean that that's the color that the students are working with. Do not say, go out to the red card and click on it. The student might say, it's not red to me. This is where you can decide what color you want your card. I have colleagues that say, and I go into their office, they actually have folders on their desk that Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are red days, and Tuesday, Thursdays are blue days. And they have folders on their desk that would represent that. And they can come in here and actually click on one of these little color spots, and that's exactly what color would show up on the card. So then take a look at that. Following me. This is up to you to decide what you want to have those card colors or nicknames appear as. Okay. The other thing is up here, let me see if I can come back and get out of the way. On the dashboard, there's ... I can also, turn things on. If I want to right here, I can turn off the colors if that's not important to me, or I can turn them back on. It's just an on-off switch up here. I can say, yeah, do that, and then it applies it for me to work with. Get this back out of the way. Okay, go back here, out of my way. Groups, not all of you are going to have groups showing up as you, or if you go in and you create maybe a discussion or a Dropbox and you say, the two of you are working on this discussion together and you're working on a different discussion, that's going to be called a group. So until you start using a group inside of your course, this icon will not show up. So for some of you, if you never use it, that icon will never be there. It's only when you actually create a group inside of a course that starts to appear. Calendar, this is one of the tools, as we talked about earlier, we're pretty excited about. The reason why is that when I click on the calendar tool today, okay, it's getting there, what you'll see is that if I put something into my course that maybe has a due date, that automatically appears on the calendar. You remember those card colors we talked about a second ago? Those card colors also come over into the calendar as well. So if I was teaching my Monday, Wednesday, Friday red class, that would appear as a red color on my calendar. If I was teaching the Tuesday, Thursday blue class, those items would appear as a blue or green or yellow or orange on there. So it helps distinguish between different classes that you're teaching, especially with due dates. That's going to be something to keep in mind. Now, in addition to calendar events coming from courses, every person also has their own personal calendar. So you as instructors, students, you have your own name over here that you can put your own items in here. You would be the only one that would see that. I'm telling students that, maybe their instructors are not putting all the date information. They could go ahead and put the date information and due dates if that's what they want to do. Maybe they have study times that they're getting together with a group or something. They could go out here and create their own calendar item within the Canvas calendar itself. The other thing that they can do here, let me see if I get this back out of the way, is that there's actually a calendar feed. What this means is that if you use maybe an Outlook calendar or maybe you use another Google calendar, you can get Canvas to push this information out to that other calendar.
Now, it's a push process. You cannot change something in that calendar and it reflects back in Canvas. It's feeding information to you. If something has to be changed, an assignment due date, you're still going to have to go back into Canvas and actually change it inside of Canvas. And then that will be reflected out into those other calendars that you might have. Okay, that's all it is. It's a feed. It's not going to go back the other direction. And then see these little buttons over here on the right side, these little icons? These are just on and off buttons. So if you say, I don't really want that calendar to show up, you know, you can come over here and say, okay, turn that off. Notice how it's a toggle switch. On, off, on, off. Okay? Anything that you own as an instructor or as your own calendar, you can drag these items on your calendar to a new location. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about this, maybe not today, but eventually, if I had a due date on one of these assignments and I'm an instructor, I could drag that assignment to another date and it's automatically going to change the due date for that. Because Johnny was whining that he needed more time on this. Okay? So that's another thing that some of the instructors like about this is that they can change due dates if they want to. Now, students could wish that their teachers would change the due dates, but they are not the owner of those calendar items, so they can't drag those items. Students can't drag. Okay? But you can if you want to do that. Another thing that we have up here, just an agenda item, shows chronological, what's showing up. There's another tool that you may or may not use called the scheduler. In this particular case, you could set up, this brings back memories for me, okay? Sometimes they're painful memories. Back when I was in college, my instructor in Comp 1 put on his office a sheet to come talk to him and discuss your essay or your thing. So basically, you had to go down and sign up for a time that you would go talk to. I think his name was Professor Adams. I can almost remember his name. That you had to go and talk to Professor Adams about your paper. There was lots of red on my paper, okay? But what I'm talking about here is that as an instructor, you could set up basically like that thing on the door that says, hey, we're going to set up conferences. And I'm going to set them up every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, every hour on a certain day. And the students can actually go in and sign up for that online through Canvas. Okay? And then you can use that. You may never use this, but I'm just letting you know it's a button that appears in Canvas, and you're going to click on it, whether I talk about it or not. So I want you to be aware of what does that schedule thing mean? It basically means that you can create a sign-up sheet online that you could have people come in and sign up for times. Okay, maybe it's your office hours. I don't know. It's whatever you want it to be. Okay. Inbox, I talked about that briefly, that messages, okay, that might originate from inside of Canvas will appear here. If the student has went out and said, forward it to my Hotmail account, make sure it forwards to my StuMail account, it will also appear there. One of the cool things about Canvas is that if I start a message inside of Canvas, okay, and it goes out to the StuMail, okay, and that student says, well, thank you for that message. I also am looking forward to your class that begins next week. When they reply, that will come back into Canvas, okay? And if you as an instructor have set that up to also forward to your JCC account, it will also come out here as well. You don't do anything. You just make sure that your notifications are set up in the messages to automatically go to your at jcc.edu account. I'll show that here to you in a second. But there's something called tokens that's set up. Now, how, as an instructor, can I send a message to my entire course? Because really, if I'm teaching an online course, it might be a good idea for me to kind of send, a welcome message out to all my students. If I come over here to this little icon, it says compose a new message. When I click on that, it's going to say select a course. Well, let's see. There is a late summer Canvas class that I think all of you were in. And there's an icon over here that says, who do you want to send the message to? If I say all, okay, this would go to all of the students. If I were to click on this icon and say students, I could selectively choose only those people that I want to. Okay, but this would be a way that at the beginning of the semester, or maybe periodically during the semester, I could say, hello, welcome, whatever you want to say out here. Subject, just like you would in a normal email. And then that's kind of where it stops, send an individual message. This is like a BCC. If you don't want everyone to see each other's names, this would kind of make them look special so that they wouldn't see everyone else's names, the BCC. You put in your message and you send it. When you send it from inside a Canvas, there's going to be a sent item folder inside a Canvas, and that starts the whole process. It goes from Canvas out to the students. Students reply, comes back into Canvas. If you set the forwarding up to go to your at jcc.edu, it comes here. If you then say, well, Johnny, I'm really looking forward to seeing you too, make sure that you go get your books at the bookstore and blah, 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 like that, okay? It would then do this, and then it would do that again, okay? The cool thing about it is that inside of Canvas, you basically have a tracking process of what's going on. The other thing that's kind of cool about this is if I come back over here to my inbox, I can actually sort these by course. So I can kind of know, how are these communications taking place? Because a lot of times, if I just send it to a regular email address and they say, yo, Dr. Lovett, I need more time. Who are you? What time? This way you're kind of categorizing them by the classes and having kind of a thread that's going on. Okay. I will let you as instructors decide how you want to relay communication to your students. I'm seeing a lot of faculty that will say, if you want to talk to me, okay, I'm going to ask you ask for that through Canvas, or you message me through Canvas. So there's a trail there. And I'll show that where you can point students to. There's lots of other places that you as instructors can, ping your students. Johnny, you're not doing very well here. Johnny, we need to talk, okay? But the inbox here does have a lot of cool functionality. What it lacks, and I'll just tell you this right now, what it lacks is going to be bolding, italicizing, all the stuff that maybe you would see in an email message from Outlook or those things. You can't bold anything. You can't italicize something. It's very, very simple. It's a messaging process. It's not meant to be complex. And the reason they do that is that those messages could be forwarded onto this, okay? And so they're trying to make it as simple as possible. So if you're trying to look for fancy things in this email, it's not there. It's not going to show up there. Okay, questions about the inbox and that we see here in Canvas?
If you start typing a student's name, will it automatically start coming up knowing that it's a student in your class?
Okay, if I go to a class and I come over here,
Yep.
Okay.
So notice how right here, I'm just starting to type in 2,
Mhm.
and it's starting to look for that. Let's see, Mark, you're in the other class. Let me find you over here. You're in the late summer class. There you are. Yep. So I can do that.
But if I want to send the entire class to send the email, then I can just do the check mark on send an individual message to each recipient.
Yeah,
That will go to everybody.
That would be the blind carbon copy. So if I say right here where it says 25 people, I click on that.
Oh, that came down. Okay.
Yeah, say 25 people. And then I say send individual message. That's like a blind carbon copy, BCC, that they would be getting with that.
Did you say that if you didn't click that, then all the students would see all the other students' names?
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think that's horrible, but this way you're kind of cleaning it up a little bit. letting it-
Sometimes I'll send an email to maybe, 8 students who aren't doing well in the class. And with each of those automatically a blind copy. So I would have to just make sure I check that.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in the grade book. There is the ability to go in the grade book and say, you guys are not doing well. Okay, send them a message. Okay, so we're going to talk about that as well. All right, any other questions about the inbox? If I go back up here to inbox, you'll see that I have sent items or anything that I might have sent out. There's a history there working. I also did get questions at the beginning of the semesters when instructors would come and say, Ed, I'm trying to send a message to my students and it's not working. Okay, one of the first things I asked them was, did you publish the course? Okay, if the course is not published, it will not let you send a message to the entire course. Once it's published, then it will. Now, here's what we're going to be doing, is that because of that dilemma, we are automatically going to publish from the server side courses for the semesters. So moving forward, you should not have to go in and publish a course. You might say, well, wait a minute, I don't want them in my course until a certain date. Fine. There will be a beginning date, a start date, and an end date. You still have control over when they can actually go into the course. Even though it's published doesn't necessarily mean that they can go in and start snooping around. It's actually, you can send them communications, you can do some other stuff with that.
But on publishing, as in the past, the classes are essentially closed to them until the first day of school unless we decide to publish early.
Publish early or to begin it early, to start it. We're going to just start publishing them automatically because the start date and end date is what really controls access.
But that's what you're doing.
We'll do that. We're going to do the publish. I just want to let you know that when you go over here to courses and you look at this thing to the far right, what does this mean? What does publish mean?
Mhm.
Publish means make accessible to students. Right. What we're doing, moving, and it may not be turned on yet for the fall, is we come down here, we will be automatically publishing these courses for the fall. And I find out when we're going to do that. It might be like a couple of weeks before the beginning of the semester. And once again, we are not letting students in. We're just setting, we're turning on the ability for you to communicate with these students in case you forgot. Okay. But if you ever look at something, you go, Ed, I can't email them. What's the problem? Go out here and look. Has this course been published? You can publish it earlier if you want to. You can start the date earlier if you want to as well. That's just something that I'm sharing with you. All right. Now, keep in mind, I know that you'll start doing something. Go, I think I remember Ed talking about that. I think I remember that. Okay. Come talk to us. Email me. Call me. Okay. Mark knows we've got some great people next door here. Okay. We love to talk to you. Okay. I don't want to look stupid. No, come talk to us. Okay. That's why we are here. Commons icon. This is something really cool. When you click on it the first time, it's going to ask you, do you want to
log into this, probably. And I'm going to say, yes, you do. This is your library card. This is your admittance into the Commons space at Canvas. Commons is a repository where institutions from around the world, and I'm really saying institutions from around the world, have started to upload things. Courses, quizzes, files, okay, that they are sharing. Now, by you agreeing, you are not agreeing to share your course, okay? That's not what you are agreeing to. You're getting your library card to come in and look around. That's all you're doing. We are not uploading things, okay, without your permission. You're the one, if you decide, hey, I'm pretty dang proud of this. And I'm willing to share, you know, what I have with the world, or maybe just with Johnson County, or maybe just with my department. That's where it starts to get kind of fun here. In that, a long time ago, Mark probably remembers this, we had a product called Angel. Angel had something called a learning object repository. That learning object repository allowed us to put stuff in there and share with other instructors. Okay, that's the same concept with the Commons. I can put things in there and share with other people. It could be an entire course. It could be a quiz. It could be a Dropbox. It could be a file that I could share with other people. I can go out to the Commons right now and see what is going on in the entire Canvas universe. So if I come into Canvas and I say something like search, give me a topic that I need to search for, somebody.
Student wellness.
Student wellness, let's do that. Okay. Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm just telling it to look for everything. I could have sorted it down by grade level. I mean, Canvas is actually being used in K-12. The Blue Valley school system uses Canvas. I was out at the user conference last year, and I had my shirt that said Johnson County Community College, and I'm walking up, Blue Valley, you know, like Kansas? And he goes like, Johnson County, Kansas? And I go, yeah, we're neighbors. So, you know, they're using at Blue Valley K-12 Canvas. Bayshore, Linwood is using Canvas. Park Hill is using Canvas, okay? A lot of K-12 districts are using it. A lot of universities and colleges here in the Midwest are using it. Park University uses Canvas. UMKC is moving to Canvas. Let's see, who else do we have? Butler Community College, Emporia State, Pittsburgh State, K-State. Okay, all of these universities and colleges are using Canvas. And so if I go out here, you might find some of our colleagues. Now, we typed in student wellness. Okay, here are some different things. Maybe there's a discussion out there. Maybe there is a quiz out here. Okay, maybe there's an entire course out here. Now, this is a reason why you may want to ask for source courses or multiple source courses, because if I go in here, and I have no idea, I'm just kind of clicking around on different things, is that if I click on this, I can actually import all of this stuff into a course over here on the right. That's why if you have a source course, you can push all that stuff right in there and start looking at it. I will tell you, there's some good stuff out there, and there is some not so good stuff out there. Okay, you may go, oh gosh, what were they proud of? Okay, but I'm just letting you know that's what the Commons button represents. It represents a location where things can be shared. Now, as an institution here at Johnson County, Okay, I've already started to get requests from departments, chairs, saying, you know, Ed, I don't think that I want to share this with the world, but I would like to share it with just our department. So that maybe I can upload my course and maybe my adjuncts or my other instructors within my department can go in and grab the entire course if they want to, or maybe I can upload a quiz, or I can upload a file, or I can upload that. So I've started to get requests from different departments. Mark, you're the chair, right? Okay. You could ask me to create a media commons, okay? You could be a manager in there, Gretchen could be a manager in there, any of your adjunct instructors, we would put them in there and they can have access to courses that have been taught if they want access to that. Okay, wellness, you know, I don't know who all works in the wellness environment, but it could be also a situation there. You're in the science.
Yeah, biology.
Okay, I think there's already a biology one out here.
I was gonna ask, I know there's some sort of a course that I've gotten into with a bunch of shared
Okay,
things.
Paul requested something out here. So, I mean, that's kind of, I think Paul had requested that. So maybe that's one of the ones that's there. I'm
Is
just,
that different from this commons then? Because it's, I think like a shell course I can click and then it's got different subjects and different like graphs and things that that any of the adjunct instructors, if they've been granted access,
Sure.
can click on.
what also is happening is that maybe we have uploaded I'm going to call it a source course that has everything in it. And then we've added all the people that might need access to this course into that source course. And we can still do that. We still do that. But what this is allowing me is to also put bits and pieces of things. Maybe I don't necessarily, maybe I just want to share a quiz or maybe just a module of something. Okay. I'm throwing this out at you because I want you to be aware of what all is out here. If I go back to Commons and I just type in, let's say, JCCC. J, come on. Get back to J. Okay. You'll see that I've put a module out here that if you want to put Canvas tutorials for your students in your classes. In other words, I've created a module, put it up into the Commons space, that if you don't want to be wasting time training your students on how to use Canvas, you can drop this little folder container into your course, and it has all the tutorials and stuff that I've worked on for training your students on using Canvas. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing that, is so that you can go in and say, Ed, I want this tutorial module, and I want to put it in a course. Okay. Now, what you might have also noticed is that I've kind of ignored this little button up here, is that if I use something from the Commons and the owner of that makes a change, I would get a notification that, hey, the owner has changed some stuff. Do you want to update that with some new material? I've ignored that for like 6 months, but I'm just kind of letting you know that is the owner, if I update, that then is sent out to people that have sort of borrowed this and used it. That, oh yeah, I guess there's some newer stuff out here. Maybe I want to take a look at that. Okay. So I wanted to bring this to your attention because I think it's an excellent resource out there. I think chairs, I think you guys might want to possibly request spaces and start uploading things in there. If you need some assistance with that, I'm more than happy to do that. But it's an excellent, excellent resource that we have not only here at the college, but out in the Canvas community as a whole. JCC assistance, okay? Here is where you're going to see, let me just do this, let me go back to the dashboard and then I'm going to click on JCC assistance. Okay, Technical Support Center, Help Desk, okay? A year ago, Help Desk, now Technical Support Center. I'm trying to put that at the top of the list so that students can go out and get assistance on things. From a faculty perspective, if anything deals with Canvas, contact the Ed Tech Center, okay? We are your first line of support. Students, on the other hand, I tell students, if it's something that is technically a problem, technical support. If it's something inside the course, contact your instructor. I can't get into this quiz, or can you give me more time on the quiz? Okay, the help desk is not going to help you with that, okay? The Ed Tech Center is not going to help the student with that. That sort of has to be something that is between the instructor. Now, if you get that email and you go, Ed, what's their problem? I think it's set up right. What's their problem? Talk to us. I had a situation here a couple of years ago. I looked at that. I looked at that. I looked at that. I go, what is wrong? It was the year. Okay? Okay? It said the right date. It had the wrong year on it. And I was going, what is wrong? So I figured out it was a year off. And that was the problem. Okay. Student guides. One of the cool things about Canvas is that they have a ton of resources out here. Ton of stuff. So if I want to know about how to do, let's say, an assignment, how do I view an assignment as a student? Okay, I come in here and I can look at, all the different handouts that are here. Notice that there's a date that this was updated, June 23rd. How often do we update things in Canvas? Did we talk about that?
Like I said, every 3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks. They could be updating things. Okay, my staff cringes at that. What do you mean you're changing things every 3 weeks? I gotta go out and change my documentation. No, Canvas does this now. If Canvas makes a change to something within their system, they are the ones that are going out and making the changes within all the documentation. So that's one of the reasons why we do not create documentation anymore, because things could change. So these are web addresses up here at the top that are predictable. This is going to be, how do I view assignments as a student? If something changes, that URL will stay the same, but the content will be updated. Okay. Besides guides, there are tutorials. So if I go out here and I say, I would like to see a tutorial on, let's say, I don't know. I was looking at something earlier. Notification preferences. So I click on this. Today. Click on it. Yep. And I can go ahead and start playing this. They're closed captioned. Good. Okay. Once again, these are URLs that are predictable. So as you contact the Ed Tech Center from a support perspective, do not be surprised if I, in addition to giving you the answer, provide you some links. It might be, well, here's a video on this. Here is a guide on that. So that you can actually sit there and play this over and over and over and over again, if you want to do that. We really like what Canvas is doing with this, that they are providing some excellent resources. The other thing is, you may want Ed to respond to your email at 2 a.m. Okay, not happening, okay? You could go out here to the Canvas community and maybe search for some things. Maybe you say, well, geez, I would like to know how to blah, blah, blah. Maybe I want to do extra credit, or how do I do something? But you can go into the Canvas community over here and actually just type in somewhere here. I know it's here somewhere. A message that you're searching for something. I want to know how to do this. And it will come back with, some answers on some different things with that. Okay. Student tutorial. The other thing I'm doing is I'm also offering a free course for students to try things out. So before maybe your course opens up, students can go out and kick the tires. How does the discussion work? How does the Dropbox work? How does the quiz tool work? And so, you know, I'm telling students they can go out here and kick the tires if they want to beforehand. So that's where that little option that said tutorial course, that's what that means. That's what I'm trying to provide. Coming on down here, we have training recordings. Okay, so I'm starting to also, as I said, record these classes over a period of time. So back in, that must have been April, I recorded the getting started. I guess I had a tie on that day, I'm not sure why. But I'm recording these sessions, like I'm recording this one right now. So, you know, if you wanted to go out and watch me, this is for everyone. You don't have to be an iTeach to do this. I also have down here training. Thank you for coming to training. If you want to know what additional training I'm doing this summer, if you want to share with your colleagues, you know, Ed's not too bad. His jokes are kind of lame, but, you know, here is some additional sessions that we have coming up in July. I will be adding more training on into the fall semester. Okay, so if you want to know what else is going on, we have that. We also have down here these merge and source course requests. Remember I was talking about a sandbox course. If you click on this request form, okay, and you say request a service, you can go out here and say source course. And you can call it whatever you want to. And you can request as many of those as you want to. I would say go ahead and be as descriptive as possible. Even though it may say put in the department, you can go ahead and put special instructions down there. You know, this is for the 4th edition of this book, or this is for a 16-week class, an 8-week class, or this, you know, just put something in there that can help distinguish that. It takes about 24 hours to process that. Once it comes in, it will appear on your courses list. So if you wanted to, then you could go in and change the nickname of that to something else you want to. You could use the Commons process to import stuff from Commons and kick the tires on that if you want to. Source courses are empty, completely empty. There's no students in it, but there's nothing in there as far as content. It's yours to play around with. There's also something called a merge request. Merge requests are typically used for an instructor teaching multiple sections of the same class. Okay, you're smiling, Mark. Okay.
I had a question, but I can ask it later.
No, go ahead. Let's go back.
Okay, so I had you merge 2 sections of my news writing. I've already canceled the second section
Okay.
just today. I
Okay.
wanted to know, do I have to do something to have the technical
Yeah,
support people?
Send me an email or yeah,
Okay.
because yeah,
Send you an email? Just
Yeah.
to let you know, I'm just teaching the 1 section.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say send me that. I mean, you could send it to the Technical Support Center. The reason this gets a little tricky is that when we merge classes, one of the classes becomes the parent class.
Okay.
I don't know which one we chose as the parent class. If we chose the,
Section 1.
yeah, I don't know. We'll have to kind of
Yeah, I didn't know if something would happen automatically or not, because the class has been canceled today.
okay.
So I'll
I
let you
mean,
know.
they're still there. It's
Yeah.
just that we have to separate them.
Mhm.
Okay. So for the rest of you, a merge course is basically combining multiple sections together. I see this used a lot in online courses because online courses can share the same due dates. I would not merge a Monday, Wednesday class with a Tuesday, Thursday class. Okay, you may have different due dates. I would not do that. If I had a class that maybe shared the same due dates, sure, you could merge it together. Basically, we're just combining the rosters. We're bringing the 2 rosters together. You can still separate the messaging processes out. But Mark, yeah, you'll probably want to send me a message and I'll get that sent over to the Technical Support Center.
Okay.
JCC portal. This is taking me right over into the JCC environment, you know, so that I can automatically start looking at the official rosters. I'm still going to tell you, go ahead and double check your rosters in my JCC. Make sure that they are current, up to date. We're pretty comfortable that they are accurate, but you're still going to want to look at both environments to see, oh, are they all showing up? My JCC is the official roster, okay? It's also the official place that you put in your grades at the end of the semester. So we're just kind of providing that link inside of Canvas to get to that. Ask your instructor a question. So this is where I point students. Okay, ask me a question. What class do I ask a question? Well, it's going to be this, goodness, I have to check in the classes. And I can send, you know, a message out. That starts that whole loop we talked about a second ago. So it's a very simple thing. It just starts that whole process over here. JCC assistants, come on back over here. Search the Canvas guides. This is kind of what we talked about earlier. I can come out here and say, how do I do extra credit? Or how do I do a, you know, something? And it will come back with information. When you email me and say, Ed, how do I, and I do not know that, here's where I go. Here's where my staff goes. Because this is where we, as a campus community around the world, accumulate things. You may even see in here, why don't you? Why doesn't Canvas? Which is kind of when I come back over here, you know, ask the community and submit a feature idea. It's not perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect LMS. We've done 4 or 5 of these things, Mark, okay? There's no such thing.
I like Angel a lot.
I like Angel a lot too, a lot. But there's no such thing as a perfect LMS. So as people come to me and say, Ed, why doesn't Canvas do this? Okay, I go, brilliant idea. Let's submit it to the community and see, you know, where we go with it. What you sometimes find out is that another school may have had the same idea. Okay, that's why every 3 weeks we see these new feature enhancements coming out to work with that. All right, so that's that information here. Let me think here a second. Is this a session that we go till 10:30 and then I go into the next one? Are all 3 of you planning on staying for the next hour and a half?
I'm not. I'll be here tomorrow for it.
Okay, very good. So what I'm doing next is I'm going to talk a little bit about the courses. I'll do that. How long can you stay?
Oh, probably about 15 more minutes.
Okay, let me do this. Let me get into a course. I'm going to show you the course a little bit, okay? Then we'll take a break and then we'll continue working, okay? So right now, hopefully you understand what all of these things here represent, right? That's the global menu. I'm going to click on the class that you should all be students in, which is going to be this late summer class. And you're going to see how the menu changes a little bit here. So we have the course navigation. This is the global menu. This is the course navigation. Now, before you freak out and go, well, Ed, I don't know what half of these things mean. That's what we're going to start doing over the next number of lessons, is to talk about each one of these things. Some of you might say, Ed, I'm never going to use blah, blah, blah. We will talk about how we can customize this menu so that your students will only see those things that you want them to see. Okay, we're going to do that. In the late summer class, this is the class that you are in. Okay, and so I'm going to talk about what I've provided for you, and then in the next hour and a half or until noon, I'll start talking about how I build that. You'll learn about that tomorrow, okay, as we go through that. So right now I have a welcome page, and I basically have links out here to different what we call modules, which are folders that contain information. In the iTeach class, if you want to be, I'm going to say, certified to teach online at Johnson County, you have to go through and complete all 6 lessons. Okay, there will be assignments in here. I'm a terrible, terrible hard person, and I'm not. You'll take a quiz in each of the lessons. 5 questions. You can take it as many times as you want. There is a discussion in each of these 6 lessons. You can say boo, and I probably give you 10 points, okay? I like a little more than that. There will be a assignment where I want you to do a screen capture in your source course of maybe a quiz, of a grade book, of your course layout, and you submit it to me, okay? Each of these 6 things. So if you've taught for us, Mark, for 37 years, you've been through I Teach in the past, you are grandfathered, okay? You don't have to do this. I still would appreciate if you want to come out and contribute. But if you're wanting to teach for us online, it's not that difficult, it's not that painful. I just want you to kind of go out, kick the tires a little bit, and we'll talk about each one of these things in detail here. Videos and Canvas guides. Here are videos and guides that I have selectively looked for in that humongous list that help tie with our lessons that we're talking about. So today we're talking about getting started and building your course. So when I go into building your course, you're going to see links out here that take me to different video things that were in the Canvas environment that you can click on and learn more about. Some of you might say, I don't need you, Ed. Okay? I can go through these modules and I can learn all about all these things. Cool. I'll still sleep okay tonight, okay? If you go back and you say, Ed, I've got everything I need right here. Fine. Okay? I'll still be here. I'll still be talking. I talk to myself sometimes, okay? So as you go through that, you'll notice that. The other thing that I'm going to kind of point your attention to is that this kind of gives you an exposure as a student. Okay. Sometimes when you go into a course that you are the teacher, you see all of these distractions going on. What does this do? Okay. What are these things over here? In I Teach, you are a student. You're being treated as a student. You're going to see things differently from a student view. When you go into courses you teach, notice over here there is something that says student view. So when you call me and you say, Ed, why can't they see this? One of the first things I might do is I might come over here to the home button of a course I'm teaching, and I say student view. And I start to see, what does that student see? What does that student not see? It's on the home, it's not in I Teach, it's going to be a class you teach. Okay, you are in the student view in I Teach, okay? But if you're teaching a class and you're building this class and you want to know, why isn't it showing up? Well, go into home, view as a student. Is it showing up? Why is it not showing up? Is it published? Is a start date there? Is there blah, blah, blah? Okay, I don't know. Right now, I'm looking at I Teach the way you should be seeing I Teach. Notice that there's no settings down here at the bottom. Settings only appear to faculty. They do not appear to students. Notice how I've simplified this menu, okay? You do not have all of the other options that you saw a second ago. So this also gives you the ability to kind of see, what does that student see, okay? How can I customize it? So what I would encourage you to do is to kind of kick things around a little bit. See how these tools work. That's the other thing, is that you get to see how the quiz tool works from a student perspective. You get to see how the discussion tool works from a student perspective. You get to see how the drop boxes work from a student perspective, okay? So that's kind of the other reason I'm putting this out there, is that I want you to actually kind of have that experience, that frustration, okay? Mark probably knows this. Years ago, when we were really getting started on online courses, our VP, Dr. Reinhardt, told all the deans and chairs that they had to go through I Teach to understand how to, work with online instructors. I never saw a bunch of administrators, and I'll go on record, whine and complain more, you know, but it was good. Because online design is not easy sometimes. You have to provide a lot of instructions out there. Don't just throw a PowerPoint up there and a quiz and say, we'll see at the end. Okay? That's why when you look at a lot of things that I've put in here, like read me first. We'll talk about that here, you know, in the next section, is that students need guidance. They need to know what you expect of them. Okay? Don't just throw a PowerPoint out there and say, see ya. Okay? They need to know what's expected of them. And so that's some of the things that you're going to see in some of these courses as we go forward. Okay? So I know you're going to need to leave. Let's take a short break, probably a very short break. I'm looking at the clock over here, and when the big hand is on the 9 at 9:45, about a 7-minute break or so, I'll start talking again about building a course. So if you want to take a short break. Thank you. Good to meet you.
You do.
Academic year.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.